Thanks for coming out tonight.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get this started. Do you want to tell us what RnBass is?
R&Bass is to me, genre of music that I basically coined for modern R&B, because R&B today is very like confusing as to what it really is. It's kind of like, oh yeah, it's my R&B track, but it's like got hip hop, it's pop, it's you put a bunch of titles on it. So I invented R&Bass as a term to replace all those slashes on the genre, whatever.
Okay, not to interrupt, but in this school we learned like you have to copyright everything. So when you came up with it, did you copyright it before you put it out, or did you put it out first?
Sometimes like you just gotta do something, before you just make the whole plan of like copywriting and did it. So at first I didn't. You can't even copyright a word like that. You have to trademark it. It's like a different thing. So trademarking is like if someone tries to use your thing you invented, you have a trademark. So same kind of thing as copyright. But no, I didn't for like a year because I was confused as to like, what do I even copyright it as? Like just you can't copyright hip hop.
Yeah.
And so
you have it trademarked now?
I do. Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Okay, so let's sign. How did you guys meet?
Jamin and I met at South by Southwest in 2000. Was it 14?
14, I think. Yeah.
And that was when I really like kind of had made the decision to fully pursue my artistry career, coming from a football background, and finally transitioning into making music full time. That was my first South by. And J-Main, I saw him just wearing a big RnBass baseball cap, and I had recognized the brand RnBass. And we sort of just chopped it up. I walked up to him, and pretty much after that, we started working together pretty closely. He took like a personal investment in my career as co-manager, and we really just started building from there. But it happened at South by Southwest.
He's missing a part of the story too. Like prior to South by Southwest, his manager sent me his song to post, and I thought the artist was dope. I was like, Maurice Moore, oh wow, this is really dope. And weirdly enough, at South by Southwest, I was huddled under like a store top on the street just because it was raining, and I look over, and then he's standing right next to me, which is crazy. I was like, oh whoa, you're that artist that I posted.
That is crazy.
So.
All right, so can you tell me how you started RnBass, like the steps you did to start?
Yeah, well, I first was like a record producer, so I was making beats. And one day in the studio, it was 2014, January 1st, just top of the year, I was just kind of like fed up with how the industry was, because just people, they steal your beats, they steal your lyrics sometimes, they steal your ideas, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go home out of the studio session and really start this thing that I've been thinking of for years. I was thinking of RnBass for years. And it wasn't until that day in particular, I went home and started it by creating a SoundCloud account first.
So what happened after the SoundCloud?
After the SoundCloud, I started curating songs without even knowing it. I was just kind of like, cool, this song I think could be RnBass. Okay, wait, this song could probably be RnBass. Oh, whoa, this song could actually be RnBass. I started like putting songs on there I felt were in the RnBass world. And from there, I started being a curator without even knowing. I'm like, wow, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me create an Instagram now, And from there, it's like, well, let me just post all the dope stuff I like. And it just kept transforming.
When you created the Instagram, did it get a lot of attention from other people?
Yeah, that's when it got like really real on Instagram, because everyone's looking at Instagram all the time. And I was just posting stuff that other people weren't posting. I was like, oh, this guy's tight, let me post him. And I'd trick people by saying RnBass song. So people were like, RnBass, like what? I was like, check out this dope RnBass song from artist name here. And so I was tricking people, and I was posting things that no one else was posting.
Nice, okay. So before the RnBass and before the artist work, what did you do before?
I was producing, and I also worked at T-Mobile like 5 or 6 years before that. So my sales game, was on point.
So it helped you, like T-Mobile helped you for.
T-Mobile actually did help randomly enough. I think everything in my life leading up to RnBass helped me in a weird way because I played video games as a kid. Teamwork, you know what I mean? I made my own graphics for my team on video games, website, graphics, played sports, teamwork, dedication. Like every little thing helped me to create RnBass, honestly.
Okay, and what about you?
I came from a football background, as I said a little bit earlier, and my primary passion, I would say my natural God-given talent was athletics. And I had always dabbled in music. I'd always, had a particular liking for it, but I never really actually decided, like, this is what I want to do with my life. It was always football, get good grades, go to school, train. And that was pretty much where I thought I was going to go with everything, with my whole life. My fantasy and my dream was to play in the NFL until I got to my first year of college on scholarship. And that's really when I realized that music was something that spoke to me in a way that I was no longer getting out of football, which is a great piece of advice to anybody who might be doing something that, they're not wholeheartedly passionate about. You always have the option to be flexible. And if you decide, hey, I want to try this, everything is on the table. And for me, music was something that I had been working on, but just hadn't given my full attention. And so after my first semester of college, I dropped out. Yes. And which ended up being, an amazing opportunity for me because I was in school. I didn't hate it, but, I felt like I was going against what my heart wanted me to do, which was create music. And so when I did that, I had suddenly all this time to fully dedicate to my craft. So if I thought I was good before, well, just imagine now that I have 24 hours a day to master it. I got a part-time job so that my parents didn't have to worry about me, didn't have to stress, hey, why aren't you buying your own clothes, taking yourself to dinner or whatever. That became my responsibility. And I'll say to anybody, taking personal responsibility is the first step. You know what I mean? Once you have a vision of where you want to go, you have to suddenly, claim the responsibility of that. That's something that you want to do. All right, well, let's do it. And so with music, put my whole heart into it, put together enough money for me to move from Ottawa, Canada to Los Angeles, which is where I live now. And really just everything started going crazy from there. But it really started from that pivotal moment of when I said, I'm not going to play, 50-50, giving half of myself to music and half of myself to football. I'm going to really choose to dedicate 100% of my mental and emotional resources into that one thing, which was music, and extreme payoff. So, sorry, that was like a really long-winded answer, but that's what I did before music, yes.
Yeah, that was a good answer. So when you guys started, when you started RnBass and when you started your music, did you guys have a budget for it?
No.
No.
Okay. Why? Because it was spur of the moment, right? So you're just like, I'm gonna just do it, and.
Well, I think most people, when they initially discover a passion, I feel like it happens sort of just spontaneously. Like, oh my God, I like the way dancing makes me feel, and you just keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you're in the mirror and you're just, busting a little 1-2, and that becomes how it all develops. So I'd say, like, in that moment, you don't really have a budget, and then from the time that you end up realizing, hey, I think I'm pretty good at this, I want to show people. At that moment, especially in the world that we live in today with, iPhones and everybody has a laptop of sorts, you can really just scrap together whatever you can put together in the early stages, and, the people will tell you if it's good or not. And whatever the answer is sort of doesn't really matter if you really love it, you know what I mean? If it's bad, you got to work on something. Yeah. And if it's good, you keep going. But I don't think you necessarily need a budget. I'm sure most of us here at the LA Film School have access to resources, especially probably in the school. So, you pretty much have everything you need. All you really need is a computer, something to upload a video or whatever, and there you go. You got to start it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. What about teams? Did you guys have a team, like, from the start, or did you wait until?
I was solo for, like, a year. People thought I had a team of, like, 30 people. the way I was just moving like online.
You started in 2014.
Yeah.
Okay.
So all the way through the year, yeah, it was just me acting as like I had a team of 30 people.
That's hilarious. Actually, we did that too. Me and my manager, who sort of discovered me around the same time that J-Main did. I was his first artist, and he had never managed a music artist before then. And I sort of went on a whim and just trusted him for his particular interest in everything and his level of professionalism. But he had no experience, and no one cared that he was emailing them, no blog. They would just, skirt past it, not even look at it. But we basically made like these fake emails, and these fake emails were how we actually got people to open our emails. And suddenly I was on Complex and Billboard and The Fader, but it just happened because we pretended that we had a booking agent just with a different email, on our contact page. Just little things like that, you kind of have to...
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
A team, if you have access to people, though, which you're at this school with other people who are talented and equally driven as you, you have a pool of people immediately around you that you have... you can build with. So, I mean, if you're good at what you do, use that as sort of as your preface when you introduce yourself to people, especially in this environment, like kind of see how you can help other people and they'll want to return the favor. And that's how you build a team. It's always an exchange. I think a lot of people get into like, support me, give me videos or give me photos, and you don't necessarily give anything in return. But with team building, I think like the key for me early on was like, listen, I'm a really good artist, and it was apparent through my craft, which, if you have that luxury, use it. You know what I'm saying? And you're in a great place to learn and master your craft. So, yeah.
Okay, for you, Maurice, people are listening to music. Hold on, I have the numbers. It's like 32 hours a week people listen to music. How do you make your music different than other artists for them to listen to your music?
Well, I think traditionally people would have viewed me as maybe an R&Bass or R&B artist. But I think where like these pivotal moments happen for me is when I started embracing the things that I loved outside of the genre that I was making. And at this point, I feel like that's like the only thing you can do as an artist to stand out is really merge worlds that maybe only you understand. Maybe you grew up in the country and you love country music secretly, but you're a rapper and nobody knows about that. Don't be afraid to sort of channel that into your music. I think now, I'm a big Shania Twain fan. I loved country music growing up, but I'm an R&B artist, so I can't do that. You know what I mean? I think the key here is to just wear all of your inspirations on your sleeve at all times. Don't be afraid of them. Unapologetically wear all of them. And that's really what makes you is like this collage of ideas. And that's what being an artist is all about. That's your story and your ideas. Yeah.
All right. Do you want to take a question from the audience? Does anyone have a question?
Sure.
Kelsey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one. Sometimes, a lot of times through my journey building a whole platform, I've wanted to throw in the towel a lot of the times. Like, man, this is not working. Like, people don't believe me. But sometimes there's that person that comes out of nowhere like, man, bro, just keep doing that, man. Just keep doing it. Don't worry about what they say. And if you really think about it and actually put that into perspective, you're like, okay, wow, you know what? Why am I worrying about this one person right there that doesn't have my attention? Like, there's 3,000 people that like are just waiting for what I have to give them. And it kind of just like, let me just keep pushing. And then when I kept going, I found these little perks along the way of like, wow, this artist just like gave me this shout out. Wow, this person just like sent me this email, like a thank you email. So it's just like, just the journey of just keep pushing through. You find these things that help you and make you feel good.
Yeah. I think for me it was not as much like a singular advice from one person. I think there's just a couple books that I have read that sort of gave me an understanding of the world and the nature of how things work. One of them being 12 Rules for Life by Dr. Jordan Peterson, which sort of just talks about the inevitability of tragedy in life and the things that will happen to you no matter what. You know, people in your life are going to pass away, and, you know, people around you are going to maybe betray you. You know, bad things happen. But it sort of talks about, you know, living on that line between chaos and order at all times, and how that really is like the ultimate path. And so when you know this, I feel like it's something where your environment doesn't necessarily affect your state of mind. You're able to, you know, understand that tragedy is inevitable, and almost, I don't want to say brush it off, but be able to move forward in spite of that. So I would say that that's the key is when you take risks in life, and realistically you only live once, guys. When you take risks, there's always the chance of failure, but living on that line between chaos and order is essentially what life is all about. And living a good life is not about the pleasure of comfort. It's a little bit more about, you know, living on this path, which is, you know, the highest good. So I would say that that's pretty much the best piece of advice I've ever been given. Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Okay, so social media is really big now. Like, it's gotten really big. Kim Kardashian, she posts 3 times a day. What do you guys do to keep yourself in social media, like put yourself out there?
I try to, you know, post 1 to 3 posts a day that are pretty interactive or just kind of like showcasing something new. I mean, it's not really good to just post to post. Like, oh man, let me just post something. Like, kind of make it worth the post in a sense. Something that you're giving to your fan base and make it relevant to your fan base. I mean, Kim, you know, she's just got such a huge following. It almost doesn't matter what she posts in a way. So if you have a smaller following than Kim Kardashian, you kind of have more of, not more eyes on you, but it's a little more pressure to put the right things to get to the higher level. So I'm pretty selective on what I post. It's definitely related with my platform.
I think with social media, it starts with pretty much having a brand for yourself, knowing where it is that you want to take your page. So if it's your artist page, then you know this page is dedicated to your artistry. But what does that mean? Who are you as an artist? What is your identity? What do you stand for? Why should I care about you? You know, there's millions of people making music. What is your story? So initially, when you're posting, everything that you post should be contributing to this story. If you're a outspoken, extroverted, just social butterfly, and you know how to talk to people, and you have a vibrant personality, maybe that would be easy for you to just put on display for people. Or if you're introverted and mysterious and you don't like to share a lot of details, tell that story, you know what I mean? Maybe make your branding more mysterious, leading to some type of allure, you know what I mean? Really decide a direction for your brand, and all your posting should just all be in line with that. But I will say the consistency of it really, again, depends on your brand. If you're somebody that, you know, is getting most engagement on your content from you know, controversial captions or controversial pictures, you know, maybe you don't post every day. Maybe you space that out, so, you know, people are excited for the next thing. I don't think it's necessarily always about post, which can work as well. But again, it depends on your brand and how you want to be perceived by everybody. But it's always a choice. You have the freedom with consistency. Just make sure it tells the story that you want to be told.
So, how has the music industry changed since you started and now? I know it's changed a lot.
That is a hilarious question. That's the question of the year right there. The music industry changes every week. Honestly, I know that this is LA Recording School and there's classes for everything. The craziest thing is, by the time you graduate, the music industry is probably onto another level. I mean, it's like literally what I know and what I've known last week is different than what I know this week. It's changes that dramatically. I remember like 2014, 2013. It was like a radio era. It's like, oh, we need to get our song on the radio. Man, let's make a radio banger. Come on, like, all right, let's get a budget for radio. Now it's like, yo, are we on that Spotify playlist? What about, is it on an Apple Music playlist? Like, all right, cool. Like, who's your publicist? So, man, I mean, and plus, even before that, it was like Lime Links, and now even YouTube. Like, people want to be on a big YouTube channel. So it's like, what the heck? The industry is like forever changing. Radio kind of doesn't matter anymore. It's like people's first thought is not to be on radio. People's first thought is, I want to be on a Spotify playlist, straight up, or on a platform like RnBass or a YouTube or whatever. Radio is like way on the back of people's minds.
Definitely.
Perhaps the question could maybe be altered to what do you do about the changes that have taken place? I think like everyone probably knows that music even 10 years ago was drastically different. The way that people consumed the content was different. But I think ultimately what you can do, knowing that, you know, these playlists are now like the new valuable radio type resource, and knowing that SoundCloud and Instagram influencers now have, you know, just as much influence as, you know, a big television network. I think the secret now is pretty much just being on the platforms that you know your audience is gonna be, you know, chilling at. So if your you know, target audience is, you know, young women 18 to 24, then, you know, find that niche and just keep hitting it, because, you know, they're probably gonna like your stuff. You just gotta make sure it gets to them. So find these resources, find these Instagram pages that are relevant to your content, you know, reach out, and trust me, you're gonna get a lot of no's. So you better, you know, make sure that you're even going for people that maybe have less than 10,000 followers, maybe 5,000 followers, because, you know, that's 5,000 followers that could maybe be your fans too. And it adds up over time. It compiles compounded interest, and it's pretty much exponential as you grow, because, you know, you're gonna hear my music and you're gonna love it, and then you're gonna tell your friend, and then it just becomes this bubble. So with social media, know who you're trying to reach, and then do your research, you know, because artists today need to be entrepreneurial. Do your research on all these platforms, and, you know, reach out and keep doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah, like he said, that's a marketing 101. You just put the product in front of the same people every time, and eventually they'll be waiting for your product. You can't just be like, here's my song, you post it, you post it over there. Next song, all right, you post it. It just makes no sense. You're not hitting the same people. It's, you know, I feel like even blogs are a thing of the past. Like if your song's on a blog, it almost doesn't even matter. I mean,
yeah,
because it's not going to you, basically. It's like on their website, one click, and then they bounce off of the website. As to if they stream it directly on Spotify, they're click and play, they're going directly to your profile, to your, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Yeah, like 2 years ago, maybe even 3, everyone wanted to be on blogs. Like, post a song on the blog, post it on the blog. Yeah. Now it doesn't even matter to be on a blog.
Well, I think it depends. I think like tradition is very hard to change. I think there's certain things in pop culture that traditionally just don't really evolve that much over time. I think there's certain platforms that still matter, but like you guys are saying, it's not really like the end all be all anymore. There's a very limited amount of blogs that can actually benefit you. It's important to know what they are, though. You know what I mean? You should still be aware of these things, because if you have the luxury of meeting somebody, if you're in LA, I mean, that's always an opportunity. It can always just happen. You might be walking down, going to a veggie grill, and, you know, so-and-so's right there. So know the big platforms that are still, I would say, like the billboards. Complex is still a great platform. Pigeons and Planes, the Fader. I mean, there's probably maybe like 8 of them that can really do something for you, but they can. So know them, but also know it's not everything. So don't.
Yeah, it's a certain type of audience too. Like I know the kids are really like on SoundCloud, and you know, people count SoundCloud out. That thing is like, it's a beastly platform still. And
a lot of people talk about it. They're like, you're a SoundCloud artist, but I'm like, that doesn't. Why are you for me?
Most of the artists on the radio were SoundCloud artists and still are SoundCloud artists.
That's
So
how
I
many
mean,
people get famous nowadays.
I
because
think
of
that
SoundCloud.
it gets a bad
Yeah.
rap because you
Yeah.
know not every artist on SoundCloud is good. You know what I mean? So you definitely have.
there's a lot of strategies going on. on the
Yeah,
back
and
end.
that's also an exciting thing. You know what I mean? Like you can really play, like I said, on you as a brand. It's not as much always about solely the craft. You are also the brand, and you get to wave that flag. So if you are kind of a weird artist, you might not be the best singer, but you still have that creative juice inside of you, and you want to put something together. Like, don't be scared of that. You know, there's probably a niche for you as well. And as you've seen with all of the, you know, acts that have broke in the past, you know, 3 years. I mean, there's some pretty weird stuff out there, but you know, people like it. So yeah.
It's a new world, man. I must say, SoundCloud actually is dying now. Still alive though.
It was
but-
supposed to be cut off, like last summer. They were gonna kill
Yeah,
it.
there's no money being made on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Like YouTube, you get to monetize. You can put ads on your video and stuff. You can do that on SoundCloud, but it's not as like popular, and people don't really know how to.
Mm-hmm.
Only certain distributors could do that for you,
Interesting.
which sucks for the major people. They're like, no, we can't make money. We're not
Well,
putting our music on there.
SoundCloud, actually, me personally, I had a partnership with SoundCloud, and so I was able to monetize some of my music on there. But the problem
Right.
with SoundCloud is because there's not a lot of ways for them to generate revenue, and it's mostly based on free content. You know, even the stuff that you're making from it is, you can have millions of plays, and it's literally like nothing worth getting. So a lot of artists are actually moving away from SoundCloud and sticking to these monetizable platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, because they can actually put money in your pocket. And for an independent artist like myself, you know, it's those platforms that allow me to move from Canada to Los Angeles and allow me to, you know, support myself solely off my music. So these platforms are very important, and I think they're starting to evolve a little bit to be more lucrative for the artists as well. A lot of policies, because this is again, as we were talking about before, with how much the music industry has evolved. Like, we've never had these platforms before, so a lot of the policy is still, you know, in the process of being made, and it's, you know, it's moving towards the artists, you know, being more successful financially. So yeah, those are the platforms.
I hope they do something about that.
Yeah.
SoundCloud, because it's just so dope. Like,
Yeah.
anybody in the world could just upload.
Yeah, I really like SoundCloud. That's where I found a lot of new music at. I think I found the RnBass
See,
playlist there. Check it out, guys. Let's see what else.
yeah. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. What's an interesting trend that's happening 2018 that you found?
People are breaking music through memes. That's a new one. What I mean by that is Rich the Kid. Rich the Kid had some homeless man on the corner, you know, doing that dance to a song. But that meme alone broke his record almost. Like, I know for a fact, because I know people at Interscope, they were telling me how impactful that meme was of the, hey man, hit that for me, man. You know, it's got the Rich the Kid plug walk song in there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like, you know, you see something funny, you hear it, it's popping. That's plays. However, we're not at a point where Instagram's monetizing these views. So for now, it's a good mechanism to just get the views and the plays and have it transfer over to whatever. But man, that had like millions of plays. So that's definitely a new trend, is putting the music in funny memes subconsciously so people hear it.
That's a good idea as well.
Don't tell nobody. Just kidding.
Yes. So for you, Maurice, you're an independent artist. Is it? I mean, I know it's harder to be an independent artist than signed, because of like, when you're signed, you have like contracts and like they give you an advancement and stuff. So what's the grind like for you as an independent artist?
Well, I'd say if you're gonna be an independent artist, the first thing that you have to understand is that it's a lot of work. More work than most people are really aware of when they actually make the decision to do it. And to support yourself financially, you have to really, again, treat your craft like a business, because again, with with making money, you know, you have to make your content monetizable. So what I did early on was I had my music on Spotify, like right when Spotify came out. And before I even was like checking the plays, I remember going back to my Spotify profile and saying, oh my God, I have like 500,000 plays on this song. This is so random. I didn't even know. And so I had all this money just chilling in my Spotify account. And that was like an exciting realization. I'm like, wow, like I'm actually making money doing this. So make sure your music is on these platforms that you can monetize. And Spotify is pretty good, and Apple Music as well, at, you know, finding upcoming talent. You know what I mean? If you're good, and you can email the programmers. You know, they're all on Instagram. All the people who are curating the playlist, they're all there. You just gotta do your research, Google who the head of Apple Music playlist, R&B playlisting is, and send them an email, send them a DM, harass them in their comments, like do what you gotta do.
Is that what you did?
That's what I did, and it worked. And it got me flown out across the country when I was 16. You know what I mean? Like these labels were flying me out, and I'll say this, like the independent thing was more by choice than it was by lack of opportunity. I think being independent is actually a great thing. I think there's plenty of benefit to being independent. Yeah, you might not have as much initial capital to do really, you know, larger than life things, but that doesn't mean you can't make great content. And as we've seen over the past few years, you know, people can make a lot of money with pretty low financial investment, especially if you're good. So that means you should be working on your craft religiously. And being in Los Angeles, you know, networking is key. Being able to find people that can help you and, you know, again, offer something in return. For me, I did a lot of brands would send me clothes, and I would just post pictures of them on my Snapchat, and I get free clothes out of it, and all of a sudden I look cool in my videos.
How did you contact the brands, or did they contact you?
Vice versa. As you grow, you know, brands are going to reach out to you, obviously. But in the beginning, I would just find like some smaller clothing brands, and sometimes I would find them just, you know, they might have ads on Instagram. Sometimes you're scrolling through Instagram, you'll see an ad, and I'll be like, click that, send them a DM. And if they, you know, like what I'm doing, if my branding is good when they go and see it, then maybe they'll be, you know, maybe they'll want to work with you. So
there's also like other strategies along the way that we've implemented.
Yeah.
You remember? Yeah, the whole Kehlani thing.
Ah, yes. Yes.
I mean, I'll just chime in. Like we kind of together got him aligned with Kehlani. I don't know if you guys know who Kehlani is. She has her Tsunami Mob brand, which is like her, not a label, but it's like her squad, I would say. And I just knew one day sitting at dinner, I'm like, if we align Maurice with Kehlani somehow, and he's in that team, he'll go crazy, you know? So I was like, yo, do a song about Kehlani, man. And he thought I was crazy. I'm like, bro, just try it. Just do a song about her, and I'm going to use my platform as leverage to have her see it, because I know how to, like, tag it and, like, blast it.
Yeah, well, because J-May knew I would always talk about Kehlani, because Kehlani was a big, I was a big fan of Kehlani when I was first, you know, starting to get things sort of moving in the music world, and she was somebody who I felt I saw parallels with. And this is another thing, collaboration is such a big deal in 2018, and a lot of people are sort of anti-collaboration. They have this entitled mentality, like, I'm so good, no one can mess with me, I can't work with you. But sometimes you have to really put your ego aside. And remember how we were talking about this line between tragedy and chaos, or chaos and order, sorry. You know, sometimes you're gonna have to work with people that, you know, you might not like, or maybe they're not everything that you need at the moment. But when you're starting, you can't be that picky. You got to just get it out there, and don't be so much concerned with criticism. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much the Kehlani thing, was just a collaboration that happened purely because I made a song and she happened to like it. I got all my small, tiny niche of fans at the time to tweet at her and Kehlani, Kehlani, Kehlani. Even my friends, most of the comments were just my friends from school and whatever. And she saw it, and that became, you know, something where we ended up being longtime collaborators, and she's now one of my best friends. But that's how that opportunity came about, was just, again, social media.
Social media, man.
Yeah. And
45 minutes. She's seen the post. Bam. He called me right after. Like,
Wow.
oh, she's seen it. Oh. I was like, I knew it, man. I knew it. I told you. I just knew it. I don't know why. I just had a good feeling.
Yeah, that's cool.
Alignment.
But that's how you use social media. You need to use it. That's why it's a tool. It's not just a thing that we passively use. It's so normal to us that we don't realize like what it's actually capable of. Use it. You have 20 friends. Well, I'm sure, you know, these celebrities are looking on their phones too. And these people that you want to work with are looking on their phones. They're going to see it. You know what I mean?
Celebrities are bored. Celebrities are bored. Don't believe the hype.
That
They're
producer
bored.
that you want to work with is bored. He's in the studio pretending he's making beats on Instagram, but he's really scrolling through his phone.
They don't have that many DMs, trust me. Even Ty Dolla $ign posted a screenshot of his like timeline. He only had like 9 DMs in there. Like, come on.
Yeah.
People, they see this.
And that's the point. The point is like use social media. Reach out to the people that you want to work with. Don't be scared. Just do it. When you're an independent artist, you don't have, you know, the fat paycheck to throw around at people necessarily, especially early on. Like, hey, work with me. Here's $1,000. Maybe it's, hey, work with me. I'm really good. I don't have much popping right now. I'm really good. Listen to my stuff. If you like it, let me know how I can be a part. If you're working on anything, I would love. For me, it was songwriting. I would go in as a writer and write for other people. And you know, now the producer that I was writing with now wants to work with me on my music as well. And that's sort of how I started building these relationships and connections, and they all, you know, one thing leads to another. It just sort of boils over time. But yeah.
So using social media for artists is, I'm not gonna say easy, but you like post your song and like you use it like as a tool. But like if you're on the business side of it, like how would you suggest to use social media?
On the business side.
Because I mean, we're not making music, so you know what I mean? So like should we post the songs of the artists we're working with, or what would you suggest?
So like from an aspect of like, what do you mean exactly?
Because you're a businessman. You're
Sure.
the founder of RnBass. Sure. You're the founder of RnBass. So like, what do you post on your Instagram to get people's attention? I mean, I know.
Yeah, I personally post like songs I think are really hot that match my brand. It's really been an evolution, to be honest, because at the beginning stages of my Instagram, I had 0 to 10,000 followers. During that time, it's a little more lenient to be able to post these super new people, these super new things, and then from 10,000 to 30,000, now it's like, okay, I can't just post this guy just 'cause now. It's like, it's almost like a political game because, these people, they appreciate you, but like, once you do, in my perspective, once you post one person, they'll continually blow you up. Now, I don't want to play favoritism and post a artist every week. There's like millions of artists, so I have to kind of like select who I pick, who has their own wave going on, who has something going on, who did something dope. It's so many levels to it. And now 40,000 to 60,000, I can't move like I did when I had 0 to 10,000. It's just political. It's crazy.
Yeah, with businesses, depending on what your brand is, like depending on what it is that you're actually selling to people or whatever your whole concept for your business is, I'd say that the ultimate tool is just using sort of engagement tactics. Some of those things could be, offering an incentive to comment on your post or follow you. Maybe you're doing a giveaway of your product. Maybe it's at merchandise or watches or whatever. Sort of give people incentive to actually engage with your content and maybe ask a question, hey, let me know which one you like in the comments. And suddenly you have, 30 comments and you used to have 0. Just finding ways to get people engaged with the content that you post. Also, again, take very much a lot of peculiar attention to the aesthetic of things. I think people like when there's a general theme or vibe to your page. So if whatever, it's entirely dependent on what your business is. But again, find some sort of aesthetic that, kind of captures the vibe and identity of your business, and just, make sure that all of your content sort of ties into that. I think it goes artists and business as well. I think it's pretty much universal. Social media is pretty much the same across the board.
It's everything. Like
Yeah.
once you're past 50,000 followers, it's now a race to 1 million. Like every post you do has to somehow engage and collect more people somehow, rather than it's more or less, it's not maintaining your followers, it's now propelling to 1 million plus. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, but a lot of people are also buying their followers,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I don't
for
think
sure.
yeah,
I don't believe in that.
me neither.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When I first started, I definitely had fake followers.
I'm just fine.
And no, I think it actually personally, I'll say that I think it helps me because, again, we live in this world where it's normal to have 10,000 followers. And when I first started, I didn't have 10,000 followers. I had 500 followers. And so some people might, look over your stuff, might not even give your content a chance solely based on that number, which is shallow and silly, but it is what it is. And you just sort of have to play the game. So initially, I remember like my first like couple thousand followers were all fake. I went on this website and found how to buy followers, and I copped that.
Did the likes match?
The likes did match because I was a smart kid, and I made sure that I got fake likes too.
Buy them fake
But
likes.
but what I'll say is now my engagement is very much organic. But for me to get to that point, I did have to fake it a little bit. And again, that's why I say, don't be scared. Just know when you're going in what people want to see and what your artistic vision is. Try to find where they meet. Give people what they want. Obviously do which you're intending to do, but you have to dance on that line. You have to be for the people in a sense.
I agree with that, but I'll also add that if you're giving the people in your brand with whatever the niche is, what they want, you need the people to see it. If it's like 20 people, like that doesn't even matter almost. I mean, how I built my page, I literally sat there for 10 hours straight, adding people, unfollowing, adding, unfollow for a year straight. And I had like 7,500 following is like the peak for Instagram. You could only follow 7,500. So I would unfollow everyone that didn't follow me back, then go back and do it all again. And I did it very strategically, following people who like certain pictures of certain artists, like Chris Brown. Go to Chris Brown's page. This post looks dope. It looks like something I would post. Who liked it? Follow all those people. So it made my engagement crazy because those people were like very targeted people for what I was doing.
Well, if I had the money that I have now when I first started, I would have done a little bit more. Because now you have sponsored posts on Instagram and Facebook, so you can put in actual money and put in your target audience, and Instagram will actually make sure they see it. I've seen results with even as low as like $20. You know what I'm saying? So you can always get a little bit of marketing push onto your profile with sponsored ads for whatever content that you're promoting.
It sucks they kind of make you do that now, because that old school way, like what I was doing, is you can't do that because they just changed their whole API.
Their algorithm.
Like unfollow apps, like they don't share information anymore, so you don't know who unfollowed you or anything.
Oh, that's interesting.
People are like, oh really? Well, let me go home and unfollow some people.
Yeah. So Jamie, you produce and you do A&R work. How did you start with your A&R work?
I've just always had a knack for like sound. Like I see what kind of works together. Like, oh, this sounds kind of like this. Kehlani is kind of sounding like, this girl or that guy, blah, blah, blah. So I was just like, why don't I just like link people together and just do it myself? Everyone kept asking, like, I've had every label hit me up about bringing them somebody I posted. I was like, well, so basically I'm doing your job then.
Right.
So I'm going to bring you the artist, and then you're going to sign them, and you're going to make the money off of them. So with me knowing that, I'm kind of like, well, why? Obviously, it's kind of like, duh, it's a no-brainer. Why don't I just do that myself? And that's what I recently actually been doing crazily. Like, that's all I've been focusing on.
So how does someone become an A&R? Because they have school, like in school, you can be like a talent manager, a publicist, and things like that. So how do you become? Because I don't think that's like a major in school. You know what I mean?
To become an A&R, first of all, the real question is, what is an A&R? Because that is like a it's a totally different thing than it was even 2
Yeah.
years ago. I mean, A&Rs back in the day, they used to really find the talent, like on the street, the girl in the McDonald's, hey, yo, you sing? Hey, come on, let me take you to the studio. Now A&Rs are like, hey, I seen you on Complex. Let me see how many followers you got. Okay, that's A&Rs now. So to really become an A&R, you just got to do it. Don't get hired by a label because you're not going to sign nobody because you got so much pressure. Like, oh, if I sign this person and they fail, uh-oh. Okay, if I sign them, oh, I don't know, they don't have enough followers. Way too much pressure. Just do it yourself. Get your friends together. Yo, hey, Ricky, you make beats? Yo, I got this girl. Bam, got a song. Put it out. Yo, y'all, hey, let's make a song. Bam, put that out. Once you build a catalog of 100 songs that you put together, yo, you don't even need a label. You're good.
Yeah, I'll say about A&R. If anyone is interested in being A&R, artist and repertoire. Essentially, an A&R is somebody who is sort of traditionally would be like the liaison between the label and the artist. So they would sort of develop the talent, teach them how to perform, teach them how to record, teach them how to do all the essentials of being an artist at a high level, and the label would, release the music and put them wherever they need to be. If you're gonna be an A&R though today, there's many ways to do that without actually, being signed or working for a record label. You can do it freelance. It's not as
Guaranteed.
It's not as guaranteed. It's definitely like you would have to be a super connector. And now, so they, in psychology terms, they sort of talk about networking in a sense of there's people who are super connectors who know lots of people. And A&R needs to be a super connector. So you need to sort of take it upon yourself to know all of the interesting new musicians, all of the producers, all of the writers. It's not an easy thing to do, but do your research. Try to find ways to RSVP to events in LA, which you can always Google and what's popping in LA this weekend, and find those things. RSVP. Sometimes you won't get in, sometimes you will, and when you get there, shake hands. It's easier said than done, but you got to meet people and put yourself out there. If you're a super connector, then how you can help the artist is by connecting all these people. You can be an A&R working for artists and all these people, and people sort of just pay you to help them sort of get connected with all these other people, producers, writers, other artists. A&Rs just know all these people and can be like, oh yeah, you want to work with so-and-so? Oh, no problem, I'll text him right now. That's pretty much what an A&R does today.
I will add to that and say that here's the problem with that, is that A&Rs now are doing all the connecting, they're doing everything, and there's nothing getting done on your resume. I look at the resume, I don't see one song that's been completed, but you connected this. Like, that's great for your mental, yeah, I did that. But on paper, I don't see anything. So to me, these new age digital A&Rs need to complete things. Like, for me, I've completed probably 20, 30 tracks in the past 4 weeks by myself with just So, yeah, I've been going beast. But it doesn't matter. Like, if it never came out, it never happened. In 200 years, when we're all dead, if it's not out, it never happened. It's like Snapchat, never happened. So if I want to look on your Wikipedia page and see all the stuff, completed this song put together, this song. If I look on there as nothing, you don't even have a Wikipedia, it never happened. I don't care what. It's like, it is what it is. It's sad, it's a cold truth. But complete things. If you're gonna put your boy that produces with an artist, and they do a song, that thing is coming out straight up. Like, yo, song's done. All right, hey, mix it real quick. Okay, cool. All right, I already distributed it. Like, wait, what? Distribute that thing right away. Put it out. Splits and all that other stuff, just do it later. You got to start. Because people get all wrapped up in all the plans. Like, all right, whoa. Okay, cool. We got this song done. All right, let's get my manager involved. Let's, figure out how we're going to roll. No. None of that. Just get it out. Bam. On to the next one. Figure all the other stuff out later.
I agree. So RnBass, you guys have charts now. Before charts, what was it like? The website, was it like a blog post or?
Yeah, it started off as a blog. We actually got rid of the charts and we've moved on to different things.
It's just so,
Kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like an auto update of curation that we've selected with our algorithms, actually. Yeah, we're just running off algorithms right now.
Why did you choose to switch it up?
I recognize that blogs are just not hot anymore. No one's going to a website first, unless it's like SoundCloud. SoundCloud's still technically a website, but it's also an app. But you're not like first thought, hey, let me go to hotnewhiphop.com. You're like, hey, let me check SoundCloud.
Right.
You know, so I realized that, and I adapt and evolve with the times constantly. I even realized that websites just aren't hot no more. So my main focus is even different than it was 3 weeks ago.
So are you looking to create an app for?
No.
No. No.
When you do things like that, you're competing with people that have billions of dollars. Do I have billions of dollars? No. Do I'm trying to compete with Spotify? Not really. They're gonna beat me. Like Apple Music is going to beat me, 100%. But with me knowing that, I'm able to wiggle around different ways to like kill it still.
Nice. So rebranding, we can talk about branding. How did you, from the beginning to now, how have you changed how you put music out and all of that?
Yeah, well, as I was saying earlier, I was saying how important it is to build a brand. But once you have that brand, and you're evolving as a person, your brand is bound to change over time. So I think the key with branding is that you should aim for it to be authentic to who you are, authentic to your craft and your ideas. I think it's easier to sell something that way. It's easier to sell your personality as it is, because you don't have to make anything up. You know what I mean? It's just all you. So I mean, naturally, when I first started, when I was younger, I loved like really, colorful things. I was wearing like pink clothes. I had like a strawberry as like my logo, and all these things that really I felt like represented who I was at the time. And when I was 17, 18, that was really cool. I was like this cool kid. I had the cool colors. Everyone liked it. But I'm 21 now, and so my thing was like, how do I help the people who have been my fans for all these years? They're used to seeing something, in that state. How do I get them to buy into who I am now? And I think with the rebrand, it was just finding ways to put that on display. I went from having like super long puffy hair to I tamed the beast a little bit. I started changing the way that I dressed a little bit to reflect my new masculine 21-year-old man self. And I think that with branding, it's important that you evolve over time. I think people have a way of sort of, once they got something figured out, they kind of dispose of it, which sucks. But I think that's why it's important that we evolve, and we're growing as well. So if you're a product, make sure it's getting better over time. You can't have the same iPhone that you had, in 2010. It's 2018 now. The phone has to get better over time. So treat your brand like that as well. It's got to always be evolving and growing. Make sure your branding always reflects that.
Do you have any branding tips to give?
Yeah, just be you. Be unique and transform with the times of kind of like seeing what's out there and manipulating your brand to kind of reflect you, but reflect what's relevant at the same time. Like the whole dark, don't show yourself thing was like very 2015 or 16, maybe that might not work now. Just, knowing who you really are, honestly.
Yeah. So how does one get their music on RnBass?
Be dope as hell.
Be dope.
Nah, I mean, yeah, it's just got to be super, super dope.
So not everyone could submit.
Anybody could submit for sure.
But it's not going to be.
Yeah, we're getting a little more picky-wise because we're actually creating our own content now at the same time. But yeah, if it's super dope and undeniable, then of course we're going to post it up. Has to be melodic, of course. It's R&Bass, not rap and bass, So, yeah, that's pretty much all we look for is dopeness.
Okay. Does anyone have questions in the audience? Go ahead.
I definitely would say, actually, RnBass was actually one of the platforms that actually helped me get into that. I would go on RnBass a lot of the songs have producer credits in the title of the song. It might be like, this song is called Yeah, produced by Maurice Moore. And what I would do is I'd go on social media and find those producers, and I'd DM them, and I would ask them if they're working on anything. Hey, bro, it's good. Check out my song. I'm a writer. If I'm in LA for however long, I would come to LA for trips, but you're already here, so you don't have to fly out here to do that. You can just reach out, send people a sample of your work, something easy, maybe a link that they could just click, or maybe it's a direct file. Make it super easy for whoever you're sending stuff to, and reach out to them. Ask them if they're looking for writers. Hey, I'm a writer. If you're having any sessions this week, let's get in. And it varies. I say that's why I always say reach out to people at a variety of different levels in their careers. Some people are going to be just starting out too, but you got to get the catalog first. So be writing songs all the time, and reach out to producers that you like. Reach out to other writers. Reach out to artists. Ask them if they're working on an album. Hey, are you working on an album? I'm a writer. I can get you a hit. Let's get it. You know what I mean? That's the stuff I would do. But once I got out here and I would get in one session, this producer would be like, "Hey man, have you ever worked with this guy? No, who's this guy? Yo, let me introduce you." And then next thing I know, the next day I have a session with that guy, and then people hear your sound and they're like, "Man, this guy, Maurice Moore guy is crazy. You want a song like that, bro? You got to call Maurice." And guys like J-Main also would help me and be like, "Hey, I just had a meeting with this producer. He's working on an album." And so I would say it's just a matter of reaching out to these people, as I said earlier, and do that on a regular basis and keep creating. Make sure your music is really good, and be honest with yourself, because if it's not, you have to learn where you're not good and get better. So that's yeah. You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yes.
First, when did you realize that you wanted to do music? Like the first time. What was the first thing that you wanted to do when you thought that you wanted to do music?
I think genuinely in my personality, I've always had like this knack for music. That's something that made me extremely drawn to it. But I think the moment I decided I want to do this must have been in like 7th grade, me on like making beats on the table with my homies in class and just like freestyling. And that was like, whoa, this is fun. And I thought football was what I was gonna do, but I always knew that music was gonna be in the background some way, somehow. The moment I decided it was gonna be my career was the moment that I dropped out of college on full scholarship, going to play football. And this is why I say, this chaos and order, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people might crack under that decision, but you have to realize that, you have a better chance at being successful. And what is success, right? What is success to you? You have to define that, you know what I mean? It's important to know where you're trying to go. But once you know what that is, then other things have to fall down the list of priorities. So for me, I would say after my first semester of college, it was like, yo, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna be the best. And that's the path that I'm on right now. And I'm just every day I'm trying to find ways to write a better song, trying to find ways to improve my voice, trying to find ways to get better at what I'm doing and understand things more. And I'm reading, so it's very much just it was in that process of starting my first semester at college and realizing music is really what I want to do. I got to do it. Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna do a raffle really quick. You guys can pick. There's gonna be 3 prizes, guys.
So what are the prizes?
Oh, the first one is for a swag bag.
Swag bag.
Merch from our school.
Okay. All right. I got the winner right here. It is 6. You want me to read it or you?
No, go ahead.
650 057. What is it? 650 057.
Yay.
There he is. Woo.
All right, then you can pick the next one.
All right, let's see what we
And
got.
this one is for a LA Film sweatshirt. They're really cute.
The winner is 650048. Hey.
Yay. You're gonna bring it
Yeah.
out right now. And we got one last one. You guys, I don't know, someone.
Oh, I put her
can pick
back
it.
in. My bad.
Oh,
Oh, no, that's not how you do it.
party
Just
foul.
pick another one.
You know, I'm not even gonna
No,
try to find it.
you can pick one for the last one. It's gonna be a Walgreens gift card.
Oh, really?
Should have entered
I
myself.
want that.
Walgreens has everything. That's right.
650051.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Woo.
Okay, that's it.
Nice.
Okay, so
Winner, winner,
yeah,
chicken dinner.
the winners, please don't leave because we want a picture of you guys. All right. So, is there anything you guys want to add to what we've talked about? Anything we missed out on?
I just want to get like people to yell out like what they do. I'm curious.
Yeah. What do you guys do? Production.
Dope.
Okay. What else? Yell it out. Yell it out. What else? Nice. Okay, so we got a little bit.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. To be honest with you, I never took formal vocal lessons. I don't think that's necessary. I mean, if you want to go that way, it's definitely a way to learn how to sing. I think you might be more productive in finding artists that you really like, study them. For me, I picked some guys early on. There's lots of, you know, Stevie Wonder, Tank. I remember the Chris Brown, Omarion, sort of Trey Songz era was like big up for me. And I listened to them all the time, and I would try to copy them because I wanted to be able to do what they could do. I didn't know that I was doing this, but what became of that was sort of like, I felt like I had like the Chris Brown palette. So if I wanted to do something Chris Brown-esque, I now have that in my toolkit because I've literally replicated his style. And now I move on to somebody else. And it was, for me, that was, the Tank. And that taught me certain ways of approaching melody. And I would try to copy his runs and watch his videos, slow them down to like 0.5 speed and like copy them and then speed it up. And that's how I became a good singer. And also recording myself. I didn't pay for studio time. Honestly, wouldn't even recommend it if you don't have money for it. Recording all the time just taught me how to get the best out of my voice without the fear of like having people watch me do that process. I was scared because I started out as a rapper, not a singer. So I was scared. I didn't want people to hear me sing because I knew I was like probably not that good, and I wasn't. And I think that how I got better was just doing that in the privacy of my bedroom. I had my own little cheap microphone, had a cheap copy of Pro Tools on my computer, and just kept trying. And I would sing covers on things and record them. So I would say do that. The transition, if you're transitioning from dance, I mean, I think it's beneficial that you actually continue to work on your dance because I think that that's something that can make you stand out as well as an artist. Not every artist can dance, you know what I mean? So continue to practice that. But if you're transitioning to making artistry your priority, that's a good way to learn how to sing. Use Google and YouTube. It sounds really obvious. I hope that doesn't sound patronizing. I mean that in the best way. Google, vocal warm-up. I would like go on and find out how to do a vocal warm-up on YouTube, and that taught me how to do it, So these are like little things that you can do, and they compound over time, All those hours you spent warming up your voice, well, now it's just suddenly part of your routine. This is what I do. I breathe that, you know what I mean? And I write songs every day. My computer, my microphone is right in front of me when I wake up. It's the first thing I'm gonna do. So you just have to find ways to make that your new routine. A lot of people think that musicians just sit around all day and, you know, don't really do anything and just occasionally show up at the studio and write a hit. No, like there's hundreds of songs being written and maybe 5 of them are good. You know what I mean? But that's why you have to really put in the time, put in the hours, and those little self-help things, going on YouTube, watching those guys, finding singers that you like, be able to replicate their style, be able to, you know, that breathy tone that he's doing when he sings like that versus that super clear tone that's up here, you know, learn how to do that. And that's what mimicking these artists does, is it teaches you how to use different registers in your voice. It took me a long time. Like, I would spend hours. I could never sing falsetto when I first started. I would always crack every time I try to go into my falsetto. And then one day, it just, like, started being easier. I just remember, like, trying and trying and trying, and one day it was like, oh, this is coming out. So just consistency. Stay consistent and make sure you're actually giving something to show for by creating things in the process. And whatever you think is dope, play it for a couple people, get some honest opinions, and if it's good enough, put it out.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a great question. Yeah, it was hard for me at first. When I first left school system and went strictly to just music, I had this like strange like feeling of anxiety. It was the first time I'd ever experienced it. Suddenly I had all this time, and I used to be filled up with training, hours in the gym, and then homework, and then, you know, all these hours that are already taken up, and you realize, damn, what am I actually doing? Like, so for me, I'm very, very strict on myself, and I feel like it's benefited me in certain ways. Having a routine. I wake up in the morning, my routine is the same. Nutrition, big thing for me. I wake up, I have a nutritious breakfast, I drink my coffee, and I write my morning pages. As an artist, it's an amazing thing to do. My morning pages is basically just a journal, stream of consciousness. I just write sort of whatever I'm feeling, whatever's in my head. There's no objective to writing this, I'm just going. What tends to happen is maybe around like the second page, I start spilling out things that are actually going on inside of my head that maybe I've neglected. Maybe someone said something to me that really made me upset. You know what I'm saying? I just write it. Things that I'm thinking about. What tends to happen with this is I find it really unlocks like creativity. You suddenly have 3 pages of just words, and it kind of is cool to look at. You're like, damn, I did that. And that sort of gets me just feeling hyped up. Also, on the last page of these things, I do a checklist. So I decide, what are my goals for today? Maybe it's, I gotta go to the gym. Maybe I do that every day, but I'm gonna still put it on the checklist so I can get that dopamine from clicking the check mark. It feels good to feel like you accomplished something. Celebrate the little victories. Try to fill it up with things that you know are going to be conducive to your goals. So if you're trying to get a Billboard #1 this year, well, you have to understand, like, how do I get there, and reverse engineer that and make sure your schedule is actually directing you towards that. So for me, I make sure I'm in the studio for at least 4 hours a day. Before it was way more, but I feel like I've gotten to a point with my writing where I just need 4 hours and I can come out with a great song. So if you need more time than that, 8 hours. Maybe you got to do 10-hour days. And being an artist, again, it's a job, and a lot of people don't realize how much work it is. But I dedicate about 4 hours. I'm in the gym as well for another hour and a half every day. That's something that helps me feel creative, helps me feel productive. I definitely look over a lot of my analytics frequently of all my social media. So actually, there's platforms that allow you to see sort of how many followers you got today and how many streams I had on this song today. If you're on Spotify, you can look up Spotify for artists, and I can sort of see where my fans are at, see who's listening to my music. It's good insight. I think as an independent artist, that's one thing that I never, a lot of people don't think to actually fill that in their day. Like, take time to look over where you are, because then oh, snap, maybe I need to work on this aspect of my brand because my streams aren't high enough. Find ways to monetize through those analytics. One that I just started really learning since I've been here has been networking. And I would say I'm like a introverted extrovert, or extroverted introvert, sorry. I feel like I can kind of perform for people, but I feel like I gain my energy most when I'm like just alone, chilling, reading a book or something. But I think I had to really challenge myself to go to like these industry parties, and I try to like RSVP to them. Like I said, I still do that. You know what I mean? I think it's something that like people don't realize that's part of the job description is like knowing people and like going to cool things.
That's sorry, not to interrupt you. That's how I met Jamie. I don't know if you remember, but he had an RnBass. It was at the parlor, and I went, and then I met him. It was like my first time seeing him, and then I followed him on Instagram. He followed back. Shout out to you for following back. And then from then I did something cool with him, Powerhouse with him, which is amazing. Thank you. And then we're here today. So going to the events, industry events, are so important.
So important.
Yeah, network.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And make it part of your routine. So sorry, I went on a tangent there. I tend to do that. I'm sorry. But pretty much the point of what I'm saying is create a routine. I pretty much do the same exact thing every day. It makes it so easy because I don't have to think about, oh, what am I gonna do today? I don't have to worry about being productive. It's already built into my day. I also built in time for pure exploration. Maybe I'll just go to that random coffee shop that down the street that I've never been to, or go hang out with a friend. Like, this is being in a creative field, you have to find ways to constantly be fueling that creativity. So for me, that's part of the job as well. It's not always being in the studio. I don't want to be in the studio all day. I feel claustrophobic. I want to create and get the hell out. You know what I mean? There's other things that are equally important to being an artist, which is feeding that inner artist with experiences and with interesting, meaningful relationships and doing fun, cool stuff. So build a schedule and stick to it. Fill it up with all those things: social gatherings, studio time, maybe reading that book that you've neglected for a long time. Maybe it'll teach you something that unlocks that new hit that you would have written otherwise. So to see the world, you have to change your perspective to more like everything that you do is an opportunity to make you a better artist. Once you're viewing everything in your life that way, it becomes easier to pick and choose the things that will be conducive to developing that. Yeah.
Were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say the networking thing is a big thing. A lot of people go to networking events here in LA and they don't really maximize the room. I guess you would say.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody in LA is doing something, and we all pass each other on the street. And at these events, like, you go to the event, you're standing there, not talking to nobody. Why did you even go? You know, this event is made for you to meet people, to do something. And I feel like
It's hard, though. It is hard. I won't even front, guys. It's hard, but definitely try. You got to try. Like, when you go out there, like, I find, like, you should hang around the bars. The bars is usually where people are, like, just getting loose.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't start drinking. I'm 21 now. I had my first drink, like, less than 6 months ago. Like,
you
ever.
drink now?
Yeah. But no, the whole point of me saying this is just like it it allows me to loosen up a little bit in those settings, and I think that's when you can thrive. If you're already like that, you know, then more power to you. But don't be scared to, you know, enjoy yourself. I think everybody there that is doing that and taking part in like the activities is kind of part of building. It's not, I don't think it's a toxic thing.
Everyone's there to like meet. To, you know, like, why are you there? You know,
networking.
So.
But I'm saying that in a sense of like the most powerful networking tool is like not treating people in like networking doesn't have to be this like rigid, you know, thing. It's
right.
Treat people like you're genuinely interested in getting to know them as you would that cute girl at the library or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it should come naturally.
Yeah, one thing that worked for me, like when I was like first in LA, like I'll just go to somebody like, hey, you look really important, you know? So I'm like feeding their ego a little bit, plus like, oh yeah, I am important. I actually, you know what I mean? Yeah. So good, like you know, open liners and instead of like, hi, what do you do? Like, I don't really think that works anymore.
Yeah.
Compliments are good. Compliment people's clothing. They love that.
Yeah.
They love that because they probably sat in the mirror for like 2 hours before they actually decide on the outfit. Yo, those shoes, they could be the most basic. Just comment on it. And it's a great conversation starter because oh, like what made you choose those shoes? Oh man, this is my bro. I got these when I was like 19. I still wear them to this day. Like
19.
that you build a rapport with people by just taking an interest in them. Because networking, pretty much, I feel like the secret is like be genuinely curious. Like feed off of that curiosity, and it sort of naturally just puts you in that state of like allowing yourself to get to know somebody. So it's hard to do. Don't get me wrong. I just think the more you do it, the easier it becomes. I still haven't mastered it myself, but I'm definitely a lot better now than when I first started going to these events and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'll add that like you should build with the people that are kind of like in your vicinity, rather than always trying to shoot up to like collabing with some known director or some known dancer. Like, oh, they get millions of, I want to dance with them or I want to sing with them. Honestly, you'll get there. Like, you'll build your own wave and you'll just take it there yourself. I always wanted to do bigger things. Like, man, I want to throw the biggest concert. Like, da da da. It's not really about that. It's about me containing what I have and building off of that, and making it bigger and making it its own thing to where it will be that. So you might not be the hottest thing ever right now, but if you just keep cultivating and growing and building your team, it'll be crazy. I guarantee you, 100%. Create your own wave.
Facts.
All right. So, any more questions from the audience? Oh, two. You can go first, and then we'll take yours.
I produce, yeah. Yeah, we said it earlier, but I posted this song on my website, and then we ended up being together at South by Southwest, which is a music event. Yeah.
Yeah, we ran into each other. It was my first South by Southwest, and I actually, it's another thing about being an artist as well. It was this was funded out of pocket. So I drove from Ottawa, Canada, to Texas, and that was my first South by, and it was just me and my manager. We brought some T-shirts and stuff, and just did a couple of performances out there. To be honest, I don't know if it was worth the money, but I met this guy, which ended up becoming the most wonderful connection. And he honestly really helped develop me as an artist and helped me, sort of get my feet wet in LA when I was first making trips out here. So, yeah.
We've made some crazy things happen together. I will not lie. I mean, we didn't even tell you guys, like, the whole, like, Tsunami Mob Kehlani journey. It's just unreal how it just unraveled, Like I said, he got in this Tsunami Mob thing by making a song about Kehlani, but he took the song to the next level. Like, in every sentence, he put one of her song titles in the sentence. So every single bar was like, blah, 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 song title, da-da-da-da, song title. I was like, dang, But it's just so weird that after doing that and Kehlani's attention, like the next day on Instagram after she's seen the thing, she was in a meeting with her A&R Jeff Vaughn at Interscope, and they're like sitting at a table like this, like, and on her phone on the table is his song on the screen. We're like, whoa, like this is getting crazy. And then we go to Atlantic, they call him to Atlantic Records. And then we pull up, and Kehlani's right there. It's just it's just sometimes it's just one thing happens after another.
Yeah.
Not to like put all the emphasis on Kehlani, but it's just like how things roll out and pan out sometimes. So it's just about taking those risks in life, like being brave, doing things,
Mm-hmm.
That's how we met.
And then you had a question, right?
Yes.
You have some, right?
I have some music videos out right now. Music videos are like such an exciting part about branding. I got lucky, and when I first moved out here, the guy who did my most recent video, him and I just ended up developing this great friendship, and now he's my roommate. So we actually make videos on a constant, regular basis, which is exciting. But yeah, it's a great part of the brand. I think it's a very powerful tool. I think people still love great music videos. Yeah.
All right, so the last, go ahead.
For RnBass, if you were looking for like other producers, are you looking for producers who are in that
I'm sticking to like being that guy, the melodic guy, just because there's other people that are pros in those other areas of like rap and country and dance. I'm gonna be the pro at melodic music. So yeah, I'm always looking for dope production that's unique and banging and just super dope. Yeah. And you know, mix your beats too. If you're a producer, the producers in the room, mix your beat as if it's mixed and mastered already off top. Don't send demos with like no plugins on there. For the engineers and producers and everybody that does the music, please mix and master it already, right away, because it's just like it's that ear candy when you hear it nice and EQ'd and compressed already. It's like, ooh, this is. But people get demo-itis. If you don't know what demo-itis is, it's when you hear your song rough, the rough version, and then you mix it, and you're like, oh, I don't like that, man. But do it like the rough version.
I'm the worst with that.
Oh
I'm the
my
worst.
gosh. The demo-itis is serious. It's actually a phenomenon, to be honest, because of, like, your ear is trained to hear this same frequency wave, and you don't like the better version. You know, you like this rough, the drum ain't even hidden. You get the drum knocking, and you're like, I don't like that. So yeah, mix and master engineers, mix and master the rough versions, and producers already.
All right. So before we leave, can you tell them where to contact you or find you on social medias? Like your Instagram handle, Twitter handle, things like that.
Phone number.
Your social security number, all that.
Okay, me first. All right. Yeah. At it's J Main, just spelled like that, but it's ITS J Main on Instagram, and RnBass. Just search RnBass on YouTube, any platform. You'll definitely find a lot of dope melodic music.
You guys, I'm Maurice Moore. So if you want to Google me, Maurice Moore. But also on Instagram, it's Maurice_XIII. And it's the same thing on Twitter. And on YouTube, it's just Maurice Moore Music. Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming out, and thank you guys for
Thank
coming.
you for
We
having
also
us
have
so much.
gifts
Thank
for
you.
you guys as well.